Students have a long history of pushing for changes on campus and demanding for their needs and interests and concerns to be taken seriously in a way that acknowledges that they exist at the intersection of these multiple identities that affect not only the ways in which they interact with other people in the classroom, but really the way in which they exist as human beings in this society. If we look back to the civil rights movement or the Chicano movement, they led a lot of students to become mobilized and to, in so doing, to recognize the power that they have and their ability to push for and demand change on an institutional level within the university. As the other panelists have mentioned, UT and other institutions of higher education, they weren't designed with bodies of color in mind. They were designed for white mainstream society. And the notion that bodies of color would one day occupy these spaces is something that was not in the founders' purview when they created institutions like UT. And so for these reasons, the students who have been historically excluded from the university have a much more difficult time trying to survive and thrive in these types of spaces. I think, it's normal for all students who first come to the university to take some time in getting acclimated to the space and to finding, getting into the rhythm of what it means to be more independent, but students of color have a much more challenging experience in trying to find support and feel a connection to a university that historically has not welcomed them and has gone out of its way to push students out or to exclude them. With that said, institutionalizing places such as the Center for Mexican American Studies, CIMAS, the Mexican American Culture Committee, and the Chicano Culture Room, it's been a lengthy struggle. Students pushed for the creation of these spaces several decades ago because they felt in very much the same way as Marleen and Marianna have expressed, that Latino students on campus were being ignored. They were made to feel invisible, and as though the study of our ways of knowing and culture and identities were not important, that they were irrelevant, and that the knowledge that our communities possess was not worthwhile knowledge. And having these centers is important, but students also need to have role models who look like them and who they can connect to and come to in order to share some of these experiences and try and find support in them. And I think that's another lengthy struggle that students have been engaged in, trying to get more faculty and staff of color who they can connect with on a more personal and cultural level and help them through their own leadership development and growth. And I think all of these struggles point back to the fact that although students of color are entering these white stream institutions, it doesn't mean that their political and cultural identities are erased in coming into these traditionally white spaces.